And we're back. So here we are. We're staring up at the sun. So let's head down to the beach really quick. Actually, yeah, let's head down to the beach. I think it's the easiest place to show you guys what we're looking at. As soon as I collect these, so for every bush you get, every 2 bushes you get 1 block is basically the rule of thumb. They've kind of unilaterally had the same cost for slope blocks as any other blocks. Stairs are stairs, slopes, and everything are all the same amount of materials right now. How much daylight have we got? Yeah. So here we go. So your basic blocks are sod blocks, tier 1. Basically require 5 dirt. For each pile of dirt, there's 100 dirt in it. Unless you have a tax rate, then that changes. But as each node, it has 100. So with this, we could literally build 25 blocks or 20 blocks. Sorry. All right. What we're gonna do is actually craft 10. Okay. And you see, it takes about 1 second a block to create, which ain't too shabby. We actually don't need the blood, so let's put that down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create 2 slope blocks and 2 stair blocks. Oopsies, cancel that. And 2 stair blocks. Okay. I'll show you how each of them work. Okay. So here, we put them up here in our hotbar. Okay. Currently, we should need javelins. So let's start with the basic blocks. Here's what it looks like. It looks like a mossy block, and in order to build, it's very simplistic. I mean, you can build like that. Just click it. Okay, click. Now, if I wanted to, I can actually click and hold and walk. Okay, so we can just drag blocks out. Okay. And then we can build stairs on top of all of this. So if we want to build stairs here, stairs are a little harder to get active. So there, stairs. See? Okay, great. So we got stairs. And that's what all that stuff looks like. This stuff only has 1,000 health. So it's not the greatest of stuff. Here is a slope. So you can see the difference. Okay. And stairs and slopes. So the slopes you can actually use for like creating smoother buildings, putting them this way. So like if I wanted to, I could actually, there. See? Slopes don't always have to go up and down, they can go anyway. Perfect. We're sloped out. Okay, so that is your basic dirt block. It actually does not look like dirt, it looks like grass or moss. Okay, so let's start in. So thatch blocks, they're the same tier and same requirements as that, but made of hay. So again, we'll start with 5 blocks because we have less resources. So we'll start with 5 blocks, and I'll make 2 thatch ramps and 2 thatch stairs. We'll put them up in the hotbar. And we'll start. So we're gonna. So that's what thatch looks like, and actually their building system is really neat. So see, you see 1 thatch block, and then now you see 2. See how I kind of expanded it? 3, 4. Okay. Let's put 1 there. 5. As you can see, we're actually dying of thirst and hunger. So we'll eat some berries. Eat some berries, eat some berries, eat some berries. Berries are very plentiful, and they're basic food to keep you kind of going for a little bit. I still highly recommend making water your main source of hydration, because it gives you a lot bigger of a boost and lasts longer, it seems. So here's your ramp. Here's what your ramps look like. Okay, so again, making thatch roofs or stuff like that, you can. It's more than possible for building for looks, right? And then you can still somehow build thatch stairs. I don't know what the viability of that is in real life, but whatever. right? That's what they want you to do, so there you go. Thatch stairs, okay? Coming up on night, which makes this really difficult to see. Let's see if I got a torch. Maybe we can build with a torch. Okay. Oh, okay. Now to remove blocks, a fast way of removing blocks is to have your hand out. Your hand is base key tilde. So your tilde key is your hand key. And you can walk up to a block and just right click. It's as simple as that to remove a block. Placing blocks left click, removing blocks right click. Okay. It's very, very simplistic. There, placed it wrong. And you can actually place the stairs upside down too, or wrong. See, whoops. If you wanted that tiered look, whatever. So next on the list is clay. Clay blocks are tier 2. They have 1500 health, and they're a low quality building material as well. They have a unique look. Every block has its own unique look. So let's go over it really quick. Okay. Again, we could have probably built more, but since we're running out of time with daylight. So here you go. This is what clay looks like. Okay, it actually even makes a different sound when you're building it, which I think is really cool. Okay. And then, so that's what it looks like. It looks like castle walls with, like just clay walls, and they got little wooden sticks intermixed with it at random. Okay, let's see. There. We've built a Tetris block almost. So now we're going to place some ramps. It's going to be harder to see, but you know the basis of placing ramps so far. Okay, so there's that one, and that one. Let's go there. Okay, so we got some ramps out. Again, the ramps don't look that much different than the blocks. They don't quite butt up quite as well as the other blocks to themselves, but that's all minor stuff that they'll get fixed. So here's our stairs. Okay. And again, looking not too bad. So these blocks, like it says, if you were to take a basic weapon like my club here and hit them, you see structure damage. Okay, these are all basic blocks. All basic blocks can be taken down by any basic weapon. Okay. So literally, when that number reaches 1500 at structure, or you've done 1500 damage, that block will disappear. Okay. So spruce branches. These are probably my more favorite of the low tier blocks. These look cool. They feel cool. Again, they require a much higher requirement of 10 blocks, so I'm only going to be able to build about 4. Okay. These are great in green areas because they are really green. Okay. So like building them in the woods, trying to keep your structure from hidden from a distance. You come up close, you're definitely going to see it, but hidden from a distance, these things work out well. And there have been a few structures that I've walked right past and then had to go back and say, hey, what the hell? So let's just take a starting look at those blocks. As you can see spruce branches just sticking out of them. I mean, just see. They always stay green. As far as I know, they always stay green. So let's put a slope in here, right here. I gotta put a slope right in there, okay? And again, you can see that the slope block also full, right? Full of the green. Okay. That is Kool-Aid. So we're gonna put it in stair blocks now. Okay. Okay, the stair blocks are the only ones that aren't covered in green. They have it a bit on the sides. Right, a little bit of green on the sides, but the actual stairs are just spruce logs tied down. Okay. So that's what that looks like. Pretty cool, eh? To get any more advanced blocks than this, anything more advanced, you need to have a crafting station. Okay. Which basically means I have to create the crafting station. We don't need these blocks anymore, so we'll get rid of them. Same if we don't need the hay anymore, we'll get rid of it. We don't need dirt, and we don't need clay, so we'll get rid of them. I don't really need a heart, so we'll get rid of it. And we don't need the branches anymore. We've seen all the basic tier blocks. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is create a crafting station. We go here to stations. So right now, as a base, without another station, I can create 2. This one takes 120 wood. Yikes. It's not that big a deal. It takes 1 minute to create, and we can actually do things while it's creating. Okay, so we can go collect wood, we can go collect whatever. So the next set of tier equipment out there is tier 3 and tier 4. Tier 3 is consistent of wood blocks. They're processed wood blocks. And tier 4 is made of log blocks. The difference is considerable when it comes to material usage and health. So we'll take a look at those when we're ready. I do have to gather up about 500 wood, so you're gonna watch me gather up 500 wood here really quick. Does not take long. And 500 wood may not even still be enough, but chopping wood is actually really quick in this game. That's why the requirements on the wood blocks are higher than those of stone or anything else right now. And it's because it's so plentiful. I mean, each one of these trees is about 150 to 200 wood, maybe 300 wood. You can see how fast we go through the block, through the wood. I'm already at 309. I'm hoping I can finish this kind of run through without needing to farm food, because food becomes... Actually, I do have food on me that we can create. So I think after this tree of chopping, we should be good to place the table and see what's going on. I really like the way the wood splinters after you hit it so many times. What I don't like sometimes is the physics of trees. We've had numerous trees go into orbit. There's blast right off and up there. Gone. So we're actually going to move to this side of the stone. So now that we have crafting table built, okay, we put it up in the toolbar again to place it. You set it down. For some reason they haven't fixed this yet. Crafting tables build backwards, so they're always facing away from you. Aside from physically, it doesn't do anything. It's just an aesthetic feature. I mean, you can use a table forward, backwards, upside down. Doesn't really matter. Okay, we'll place it down. We're coming up on daylight again. So again, so now that we got this open, we have access to tiers 3 and 4 blocks. What that allows us to do is build wood blocks and log blocks. Okay. In order to get anything higher than this, we need to get a stone cutting table. That requires us to melt iron, which will require considerable resources, but I'll show you that after. So let's take a look at some of these. Okay. We're going to create 5, 2 and 2. And now the difference is, instead of appearing in my inventory when I don't have a crafting table, the crafting table's actually got an output slot. And you've actually got to take your blocks from your output slot. And what you can do is you can double click and it goes right up to your hotbar. Okay. Or you can drag. So now, building with wood blocks. As we saw, whoopsies. The wood blocks currently have, they're tier 3. They're still a low quality building material, which means they can be destroyed with any basic weaponry. And they have 3,000 health. So it's a lot bigger than the 1,500 of the spruce and the clay. Okay, that's almost double. But it does require a crafting table. So let's place these down. So you can see the difference already in looks. Right. It looks neat. It looks good. Right. There. Let's make an angled W. And then, so right off the bat, we're going to place a few slopes. I mean, you can see the difference, of course. And then, if my fingers will work today, we'll place some stairs. There. So you can see, this is starting to look more like the outside of a house, right? You can definitely see where the angle blocks would make a difference. Or if you want a more rugged look, stairs. Now the stairs are just basically basic log, wood stairs. You can see that they're just logs tied together, where these are just processed. Okay, so again, the difference between a slope and the stairs are minimal. Okay, so that's what we got. Let's create some log blocks, and I'll show you the difference of log blocks. So log blocks go into tier 4. It's still a low quality building material, so again, it can be taken down with any basic weaponry. But it is 4,000 health, so we went from 3,000 to 4,000. Not a huge upgrade difference, but this is the big difference. We gone from 30 log wood to 70 wood. So right off the bat, I'm not gonna have enough materials. Just to do a show, I'm gonna create basic blocks. Okay, 2, 1, and 1. Okay, because I'd like to move on to showing you guys. Try and get in a couple of the upper tier that are non-basic blocks. And I've got that dirty habit of not double-clicking out of this. So here's what the difference of looks is. Okay, and then create a slope block and a stair block beside it. Again, you're not going to notice much of a difference between, because they're logs, the slope blocks are a little sloped where the logs have just a little bit of a difference. Cost-wise though, they're always the same, okay? And that's the difference between log and wood, processed wood. The idea is these processed wood blocks are hollow inside. That's kind of the idea, where these are solid wood, okay? So a lot more protection, but a lot more wood resources. Now, unfortunately, I do have to cut down a tree, because the next set of upgrades require us to upgrade our crafting table. And in order to upgrade our crafting table, we actually have to create iron. And I believe, actually, in order to upgrade our crafting table, we will need leather, which I do not possess. Which means this might be a breaking point. We've shown you all the basic blocks that we can build, that are all, you can break into any one. Okay. And then what I can do is show you really quick, since I've gotten some wood, is some of the more basic structure things that go along with it. Okay, so we've got building materials, so we can close that. So we can actually create doors. So here, you can see, we can create a basic door. A lock level 1 basic, provides modest protection against it. It's got 1,500 health, which means it can be taken down by any conventional weaponry again. So just any axe will do. 1,500 health, it creates a basic door. We can also create, afterwards, this reinforced iron door. It has 3,000 health. Okay. And it can still be smashed down, I believe. So I'll just place this up. And again, this is what a basic wood door looks like. Okay. Just, there you go. Okay, so you place that in your structure, and you can lock them. It has a basic lock on it. So you just hold the E button. If that's your default key, I believe you can't change it. And you can set the door security. You can set it to just members of your family, or your just family. Okay. And you close it. Alright, and then that's the basics of all these blocks. To upgrade our crafting table, what we currently need, it shows down there under materials. So I can't really go over it, but I can show you. If you go to the right, you see stations, and then under that, materials. I need 55 flax and 90 wood, which I do not currently possess. Let's see about creating the wood. I honestly thought that upgrading my table before required leather, but maybe I was wrong. So let's go in and try and show you the upgraded crafting tables. In order to upgrade the crafting tables, actually what I'm going to do here, guys, is just take a quick flip over to here. And then back here. The crafting tables is the base. In order to upgrade it, we're going to need to make a fire pit, and we're going to have to upgrade the fire pit, which requires significant stone. What we need to do is melt iron in order to make the next tier of blocks, which I believe is cobblestone. Cobblestone blocks are made from stone. They've recently fixed the requirements on those as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a fire pit. It takes 60 wood. And while that's going, we're going to go over to the crafting table and we're going to upgrade the crafting table, which takes another minute. Okay, so see, it takes a minute for that too. So we're able to do two things at once. See how I got this going? And I can also see that this one's going. So we can do two things at once. And then let's go over and take a look at the clay really quick while that's building. Because now that it's nice and bright out, the sun's way up there. We're going to lose the sunlight again. Mid-build. But, so that was our thatch. This is what clay looked like in the daytime. Okay, so clay stairs actually have fairly squared profiles. And this was our spruce block, what it looked like. Okay. Really cool looking stuff. Eating my berries. Okay, so my crafting table just finished, which means my fire pit should be done. So here we go. We can place this anywhere. This is going to make light, lots and lots of light. But first we're going to upgrade it. So right now, to upgrade it from a basic fire pit to like a cooking station requires 25 stone. Not a very big significant upgrade. So right now, as you can see, we can't build any more higher tier. We need to get a stone cutter in order to do that. What this upgrade allowed us to do was actually leather armor and just some basic upgrades of stuff. You'd have to take a look around, but just gates, you know, different styles of beds, windows, all this basic stuff. Oh, and for the upgrade for this station, we need 80 wood and 4 iron ingots, which is 40 iron ore. But before we can smelt that, we need to upgrade the fire pit one more time. So it'll be one more minute before we can even start melting iron. And then it takes about 4 minutes to get the iron out that we need to upgrade the table. So you can see where this process is considerably time. So now to go from a basic fire pit to a smelter requires 250 stone, which is a considerable upgrade. Alright, it's very, very consuming. While that's upgrading, we're going to just chop down a couple more trees. We always need more wood. Wood. Basically, wood is going to be in the smelter to help melt the iron. You can actually use oil too, and a few other things. Try and sneak that coffee cup in there. From the sounds of it, it's probably almost done. Yep. So now, once that starts, we'll need to produce iron. So there we go. You actually see it change before your eyes magically. Ooh. So now this station is a little different than the crafting table. It's got a fuel source, an input, and an output. It's got 3 sections. Always first we want to add a fuel source. And actually, if you go down this list here, you can actually see wood burns for 30 minutes. 1 wood. 5 sticks burns for 30 minutes. 10 charcoal burns for 30 minutes. And the inputs, it actually tells you what can be inputted here. raw bird, meat, grain, iron, steel, and then what it cooking outputs, what it gives you. Okay, they're fairly comprehensive on that. So let's put the fuel in and see what happens. And then what we're gonna do is, since we're in the beach, public beach, we're only gonna put in what we need, 40. In order to do that draggy thing that I just did, you have to hold the right click, okay, and then just scroll to the right. That's very basic. Then we put this in the input, and we can see over here that it shows us 4 minutes. It takes 1 minute per bar. Okay. So what do we do for the 4 minutes? Well, the best thing to do is to go chop wood, chop, chop, dig, dig. When those 4 are done, everything, what I need to do is create a secondary fire pit. And what it's for is for cooking. I need to cook food. Let's create another campfire. Sorry, not fire pit, a campfire. I could live off berries, but it tends to get a little tedious. So you'll find a lot of your time in this game, if you're into building, is chopping wood and getting resources. It's a lot of this game. So you gotta be fine with that. I find it relaxing at the end of a day to sit here and chop wood. I don't know why. Wood chopping simulator. Whatever materials you use to build, whether you start off with dirt, clay, it really is dependent on how much time you have, or what you want your structure to look like when it's done. Raiding is going to happen. I find raiding is going to happen regardless, whether it be the upper tier blocks or lower tier blocks. The upper tier blocks require what's called a trebuchet or a ballista to take down the walls. The upper tier blocks can be broken down just as fast, if not faster, than lower tier blocks. So if a guy was trying to, say, take his club and hit a block, it does 6 damage. The best weapon in the game right now does 15 damage. And actually, I believe I'm wrong. I believe the best weapon in the game is the King's Sword, which does 18. But that, aside from that, the best weapon in the game does 15 damage to a block. So that could take quite a while, okay, to get through that. Whereas with the upper tier blocks, it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 trebuchet rounds to go through. So the reality is anything can be broken into with enough time. Okay, we're gonna cook this meat up because I get tired of waiting. As you can see, we have, it actually is a continual counter. We have exactly 54 seconds left. Now, the byproducts of this is actually when you put wood in here, it actually creates charcoal. Charcoal is very important because it's used for later tier stuff like solid stone blocks, which you won't see us create today, or in the use of making iron, or if you want water, or not iron, if you want to make steel ingots, you need to have that and oil. Or if you want to make purify water, you have to use charcoal and a well. So all this stuff is necessary. I already know the next upgrade cost me 8 iron. So we're going to split off a stack of 80. Okay, we're going to try and get exactly 80. It won't burn off 3 or anything, but just for sake. So we're going to stick it in the input right now. Okay. This one here is almost done. It is literally there. Chink. And I don't know why I took it from the right side today. Usually it's supposed to be doing from the left. There must have been something they changed in the patch. So here we go. So now to craft the new crafting table, it costs us 80 wood and 4 ingots. And that will be a stone cutters. So it will allow us to start creating cobblestone. Important lessons. If you stand so close to the fire, it will burn you. So do not stand close to the fire. Okay. Once the first set of meat's out, I'll show you another neat little thing. You see how much light this fire pit's throwing off? This foundry actually produces a lot less. The smelter produces a lot less light than this fire pit. Okay. This fire pit's a big beacon saying, hey, look at me, I'm here, I'm burning. Now what we can do is actually at nighttime shut that off. And by holding E, it'll toggle the light off. See the big difference? Right? And then to relight it, we just hold E. When you actually shut the fire off, it actually stops cooking your food, so be very careful, okay? So the crafting table's now done. So you see the next upgrade requires 170 wood and 8 iron. So what we're going to get into today. So we've gone up to tier 4, right? So now I have access to tiers 5 and 7. Okay. Tier 5 is cobblestone blocks. So we went from tier 4 to tier 5, which was 4,000 to 4,500. Okay. These are now gone from a low building quality up here to a high building quality down here. And basically what that means is, with the high building quality, you cannot just break in. You can't use any basic weapons to get in. You actually have to use siege weaponry, so trebuchets, ballistas. Okay. A few other notes that this thing has created us, if we look in here, is doors. So we've got the stone arch, again, the reinforced iron door, and this door. Okay, so that's what that allows us to build. Then we could also create gates, the wooden gate. I believe we could build that always, though. Okay. And then with this station, it allows you to create all kinds of new things. With the next upgrade, we'll be able to do the tier 6 blocks. That's why you saw us skip from tier 5 to tier 7. Okay, so we saw tier 5 is cobblestone. Tier 7, there isn't a bug in the game. Actually, tier 6 requires iron, so this has to be upgraded one more time in order to use iron materials. Whereas tier 7 actually is stone. Okay, it's the absolute highest tier block that you can make currently. We'll go over that in a few minutes, though. So what this looks like is actually really neat too. So cobble. It actually looks like cobbled together stone. Who would have thunk it? Okay. So, there we go. That's what the cobblestone looks like. It looks like the clay. It's got the little wood in it and all that shit. Sorry, all that stuff. Now let's create 2 ramps. Again, they get a lot slicker of an edge. They still don't quite line up. They still haven't figured that out yet. The little bulbiness there. It still looks nice from a distance, so don't get me wrong. And then stairs. Okay. The stairs are actual stairs. We can actually see it from the profile look. Ramp and stairs. Okay. So again, when I hit this with my club, no damage. No damage. So guys just can't walk through your walls with a club. Okay. And then you walk up the stairs and fall off. Okay. So let's have take a quick look. We've still got another 4 minutes here. Let's go over and talk about the stone blocks. I don't believe I can create stone blocks yet. It requires too much materials that I might not have. I may have just enough. Let me go see really quick about snagging some clay. See if we can actually show you what a singular stone block looks like. I will not be able to create a pile of them, but most definitely I can create a singular one. The requirements of it are you need to have water, you need to have clay, you need to have charcoal, and you need to have stone. I threw my clay away earlier figuring we might not get to that point today, but let's grab our clay back. I believe it's 50 clay we need for a single block. Now the ramps and the stairs are all the same requirements for building, and they do add up. Right, they do line up nicely together. So you can actually see what's involved in building. I mean, it would take a considerable amount to build even a small structure. Okay, so in order to create, let's look at stone blocks really quick. In order to create a stone block, its breach level is 6, which means it has a high resistance to siege weaponry. And it has 9,000 health. And it's a high grade building material. This is the absolute highest grade building material you can get. It looks nice and it's great. But it requires this weird thing called a stone slab. Okay. Where do you find that? It took me a while to figure it out. So we close up that. We can actually scroll down the list and you see resources here. This is new. It wasn't in the previous ones, so we go in there. And hey, look, a stone slab. Currently a stone slab requires 2 charcoal, 4 water, and 60 stones. So it's a relatively high requirement compared to the 30 stone of a cobblestone block. Right, it's pretty much double. But the protection it is also double. Right, 4,000 to 9,000. Right, 9,000, 4,000. So, reality is, it is a good deal. So there, we have our stone slab. It takes about a minute, and then we can create a singular stone block. These things do look nice. So we'll place it right up to the fire here. Okay, so that's kind of the idea of what you're looking at. That's what it's going to do for you. Okay, and then the ramps and the stairs all look very similar to that. Okay. In one more minute, I'll show you one other fancy block that I tend to use probably more often than not. It's a... And then what we can do is actually just toss the rest of this in there. The next block we're going to look at after the crafting table's upgraded is going to be called the reinforced iron blocks. Basically it uses wood and iron and reinforces the wood with iron. They are the tier 6 blocks. They're the ones that are missing. So let's upgrade our crafting table really quick. We saw the requirements were 8 iron blocks before. So it does take a full minute. Now, in order to create the iron block, it requires 1 iron. So, I mean, you can only create 1 block a minute at the pace of this. Okay. So, for this purpose, we're only going to show you the 1. And we'll sit here and wait. Now, keep collecting your charcoal, because charcoal, again, you saw was used making a stone block. Actually, maybe I have enough to create a stone... Oh, wait, it's upgrading. I'm going to start doing disassembly of this stuff. I'm going to take that stone block back. Now that should be done. Let's grab that. So again, we've upgraded. Now tier 6 is here. See, not a bug. It just requires the metalworks and the station. So again, this creates reinforced wood iron stairs, reinforced wood iron blocks. Their breach level is 4. They're tier 6 blocks, and they have 6,000 health, and they are another high quality building material. As you can see, these can get expensive fast. They require 50 wood and 1 iron. They're my more favored blocks for looks and probably for ease of gathering. Okay. It takes time to build them, but the ease of gathering is a lot easier. It's easier to find wood, and it's easy. Iron is... You get more iron per run than you do stone by the time the math adds out, because it requires only 10 iron ore to get an iron ingot, whereas it requires 30 stone to create a block. So we're talking 10 versus 30, and then to harvest wood is nothing. But here's what your block looks like. Okay, it looks really slick, and it even looks better when you start adding to it. Let's add another one. Okay, so you see how it's got the iron grating all around it. Well, if we add to it, it actually expands that, so it actually starts to look really slick. Okay, looks really good. soon on another iron block. What I'll do is I'll show you the stairs, because the stairs are also a very important tool. You won't see so much slopes being used, but you'll see a lot of stairs still being used. There's another block, so we can create one more. And then just because this is probably my more favorite ones, and the stairs do make a big difference in change of looks compared to the slope. The slope looks exactly like the standard block, but the stairs don't. The stairs are the only ones that really changed its look. And it's not anything bad. So we go in. So see, now it's turned little tiny blocks. Okay. And they're all reinforced iron. So that was a quick showdown of each material being built, made, what's the process, and the respect for them. Okay. And again, but it's same with the other ones. When you attack it, no damage, right? No damage. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. This has been basically just what I wanted to do. Just show you around. Show you the basic crafting materials, right? Have a laugh at my character. Whoa, whoa. Look at them feet, look at them feet, look at them feet. Tiny little legs, tiny little legs, tiny little legs. Have yourselves a great day, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.